I begin in the name of God, who is most beneficial, most merciful. Nick Iqbal, Kidwai, resident of Newberry Park, director concerned, citizen of Thousand Oaks. Sunday, October 21st, 2012. Hello, TO residents and other friends at large. Taking this opportunity to talk about the shenanigans that are going on with the contributions and donations to the Thousand Oaks City Council. I spent about 8 hours or so trying to dissect the donations made, especially to the top candidates, and lo and behold, I discovered that there were many names that were repeated, as well as other discrepancies. Unfortunately, there is nothing in the code. I talked to the FPPC. It took them 2 days to respond to me, and the Star reporter was able to get to the head person right away. So I guess media has clout, but she told me that they really could not do anything, as well as saying that there is no regulation that if businesses give donations, that they have to list an individual's name and title. Some of the candidates do that, and I hope that everyone will do that, so in the interest of disclosure, but there's no regulation, and it may not make a difference, like for Congress, if somebody has a small business and gives to Congress or Senate, but for these local races, a lot of times these small businesses or professionals like landscape architects, etc., they are making donations so that when they have projects that come before the council, they are treated favorably by staff and council. And that's one of the things that should be added to the ordinance. And unfortunately, the ordinance was adopted in '98 after a hue and cry when, again, at that time, the local auto dealers were successful. They were unhappy with a slow growth / no growth candidate, and they gave $10,000 donations per dealer to Mr. Michael Murky, and he actually won and had a disastrous time on the council. Jim Bruno, who's a candidate, was the chair of the committee. I had applied and was accepted, and unfortunately, due to politics, it's horrible. Even in '98, I was removed summarily because I had been a small candidate before, and I was self-financed. And the city clerk at the time, who's a political player, whose son is the treasurer of the Jackie campaign, and she was the chair of the Andy Fox campaign 2 years ago, this after retirement. She played politics and was harassing me, and the Murky mayor said that I should not be appointed until this issue was resolved. So I was not able to contribute, and then they had this horrible ordinance which is unconstitutional in many ways, in that it doesn't even allow you to put 2 signs on your own front yard unless they are 100 feet apart, and who's going to take a scale to measure it? So let me come back to the complaint. I sent an email to the city clerk and with some of the complaints, and it was not directed at Jackie. Jim Bruno had several, and Al Adam had one overage also. So I just believe in good government, and so I sent that, and the response that I got was just horrible. She tried to mislead me, the city clerk, and send me in the wrong direction of the FPPC, and she wrote after the link to the code regulation 18110, and I quote, "As a filing officer for campaign disclosure form 460, the Thousand Oaks City Council candidates, our duties outlined here, and when reviewing campaign statements, we are not required to obtain information to verify entries, examine previously filed statements, or check mathematical calculations." Well, that is completely wrong, and after I sent another email saying that I was going to the DA and the FPPC, she realized that, well, this guy is serious, and lo and behold, I was given an attachment of this form which you use to file complaints against this ordinance. Well, even the information about the campaign contribution and elections is 5 clicks away from the main page, and so it's not really meant for average citizens or residents. It's meant for people that are special interests that benefit from City Hall or etc. So it's very hard to get, and this form, even as of today, as we speak on Sunday, it still is not on the website. There's a section for forms, and also, there's 7 or 8 pages on the election site about sign ordinance and the ordinance, but this form is not there. So I lost time, and nobody else also who has a complaint is even aware of this form and to do it the right way. I made 2 complaints. One I did using faxing this document, and then since the other one I wanted to copy a lot of the ordinance and it takes too long to type, so I made it into a scannable file, and then I put my copied and pasted some of the information. So I have 2 complaints actually, and I'm very disappointed that I read in the paper that the petition was circulated in City Hall. These guys have nothing better to do than just play politics. It's unbelievable how bad the city is, and I asked for acknowledgement because according to this form, there's no fax number on this form. There's just the address. It looks like you have to hand deliver it. So I wasn't sure that my email or fax would be accepted. So I wanted to make sure of that, because a lot of times, and this city is famous for it, that they will beat you on a technicality. So I asked that I should get acknowledgement that the form was received, and I think Friday I received an acknowledgement first from the city clerk and then later from the city attorney that my form had been received. I believe on Thursday I received a text message from the wonderful mayor saying that I have discovered the error, singular. So I wrote back to her, "Madam, it's not an error. There's a whole plethora of errors," and it's so sad that I find out that the checks have been returned, and that the city clerk attorney will not follow up on this. I find out through the newspaper. They have time on a Saturday even to talk to the newspaper because they want to polish up the image and put a positive spin. But up until now, I have not received anything, and they will probably send it by US mail, which will take 3 or 4 days, trying to delay the process like the city clerk sent me on a wild goose chase on the FPPC instead of directing me to the city's 98 ordinance, which is 1-13.03. It is so sad that they feed the reporters at City Hall and make it abundantly clear that if they write anything which is not positive or even neutral, that they will not have access to information. So it was interesting that the Acorn, which is a weekly paper, and it had already been published on Friday, but on Saturday they on the website put in a